all the students, faculties. Ma'am, I would like to tell you, this is not only a convention center, but this is supposed to be a center of excellence in socio-economic and Buddhist studies. So, we do conduct a lot of functions, but I am certainly most elated when we have the audience like these students who have made the complete atmosphere so vibrant, and we are really celebrating bash of His Holiness, the 90th birthday. A big round of applause for all of us. So nice of you. And as you have heard all the esteemed speakers in the session today morning, this is an opportunity for you. Do learn from here, take a lot of values. Dr. Ambedkar International Center, we have a public library, we have research associates, so we are also working on the same lines, and I would like to assure Director Tibet House that, sir, as this is a celebration year-long, this is the year of compassion, we would collaborate more on such occasions, and we would be delighted to host you. Thank you so much. Jai Hind. Enjoy.
Now, may I request our Director, Venerable Geshe Dojit Abdullah, to kindly offer the white scarf as a token of heartfelt gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Akash Patil. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Akash Patil, the Director of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar International Center. Thank you, Geshula. Thank you, sir. Now, up next we have the cultural performance by Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, Dharamshala. And before that, I would like to invite the Director of TIPA, Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, Dharamshala, Mr. Thundu Sirila, to kindly give the welcome note on behalf of TIPA Dharamshala and address the gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Thundu Sirila.
Good evening, Tashi Dilek, and namaskar to all of you. On behalf of the Tibetan Institutes of Performing Arts, known as TIPA, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Tibet House and the organizing committee for inviting us to be a part of this very special celebrations, the 90th birthday of His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama. Though time is short to present all the details of our work, because most of the students are very excited to watch the live Tibetan performance. So we are truly honored to be here and join these scare occasions through music, song, and dance, the true spirit of Tibetan culture. Tonight, we warmly welcome our chief guests and all the extreme guests of honor, Dr. Nirupama Menon Roy, Vice Chairperson of the Tibet House and the former Foreign Secretary of India. It is my privilege to really stand here because the Madam, when she was the foreign secretary, she visited Dharamshala. At that time, we got the fortunate to get the grant aid for the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts the first time. So it's a very big round of applause. It's my honor to be met in person and welcome you, madam. And Kasu Digi Chiala, former colleague of the Central Tibetan Administrations, and Ko Jimmy Jungela, representative of the Bureau of His Holiness New Delhi, and Mr. Minun Barber, Swiss photographers and author, Ms. Mohinty Bahari, founder of the Shankartar School, Gurgaon, and all the students, Gishit Dojidamdila, director of the Tibet House, New Delhi, and most distinguished, eminent guests, and all the representatives from the ambassador from the different countries, dignitaries and friends from the different countries, thank you for being with us. We are proud to present 28 artists from TIPA today to perform the dance we title as the Dance from the Roof of the World. Each song and dance you will witness reflect the rich and diverse traditions of the different regions of Tibet. Before we begin, I will take a few minutes to give a brief introduction of the Tibetan Institutes of Performing Arts. TIPA was founded in 1959 under the guidelines of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, soon after coming into exile in 1959. Our mission is to preserve and promote the ancient and unique Tibetan performing arts, music, dance, opera, and theater. Since then, we have trained and nurtured hundreds of artists, many of whom now serve as teachers, performers across Tibetan community in India and abroad. Today, TIPA stands as the culture ambassador of Tibet. Our artists have performed in over 40 countries, keeping our heritage alive and strengthening global awareness of the Tibetan culture. We are also proud to support culture training initiative with the Himalaya community, including the MEPA Institute of Performing Arts in Arunachal Pradesh, and also to Sikkim in collaboration with Ladakh and in the Himalaya, others place. Tibetan performing arts are not just entertainment. They are the living heritage filled with the ancient wisdom, compassion, ethical teachings. In a fast-changing modern world, we believe this value matter more than ever. Currently, TIPA is home of 78 dedicated members, including artists, instructors, students, and staff. All are the hard to preserve the intangible cultural heritage and legacies. We are deeply thankful to the government of India and all of you here continued support and encouragements and partnership with this journey. With that, I welcome you. Enjoy the culture show by our talented artists. Please sit back and relax, enjoy this Tibetan live culture performance of the great celebration of the 90th birthday of His Holiness Dalai Lama. I once again thank you to the Geshe Dojidamdila and for organizing committee for inviting TIPA to getting this great platform to perform and witness to all the showcase to our friends and guests here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tendra Singla, for giving us the overview of TIPA Dharamshala, Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. Now, as we have been waiting for this very Tibetan culture performance, the very first element of today's post-lunch session for this performance will be Tashi Shopa. Before we begin the dance, I would like to give you a brief introduction of Tashi Shopa. Tashi Sherpa, the good luck dance, unfolds as a cultural gem within Tibet. Originating from the venerable Tashi Sherpa Opera Company, Tibet's oldest, a dance with a storied history. It first grazed existence in the dream of the great 5th Dalai Lama in the year 1645. Its inaugural performance marked a significant moment during the enthronement ceremony of the 5th Dalai Lama. The performer, adorned with a wide beard mask, embodies Saint Thangdung Gyalpo, the esteemed founder of Hamo, or Tibetan opera. Saint Thangdung Gyalpo, believed to have lived for 140 years, becomes the living symbol of longevity and good health. Beyond its theatrical charm, Hamo serves as a conduit for conveying the profound teachings of Lord Buddha through historical reenactments. Tashi Sherpa holds a distinct purpose. It is a dance steeped in the invocation of good luck and positive omens. Its performance becomes particularly poignant during special occasions such as inaugurating the construction or opening of a monastery or hosting significant official gathering. In its graceful moments and symbolic richness, Tashi Sherpa remains a timeless expression of cultural heritage and auspicious beginning in the vibrant tapestry of Tibetan tradition. Ladies and gentlemen, the very first element of the show, Tashi Sherpa. Next we have the second element, the cultural dance of Tibet, by the song name Dome Serik. Dome Serik, it is a performance art known as Serik, originated in Tibet's Amdo region and remains especially popular in the Sogon and Labwang areas. This vibrant folk tradition is characterized by performers metaphorically riding the horse of melody, using captivating musical accompaniment to express emotions with remarkable depth through body, speech, and mind. Serik is not just a musical performance but a dynamic cultural exchange where men and women engage in artistic competition, showcasing their vocal and expressive skills. Additionally, a unique aspect of Serik is the traditional commentary on each other's ornamental clothing, adding an element of playful critique and admiration to the performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next song of the performance, Dome Serik. Now we have a dance from the province of Kham region, which is called the Markham dance. It is known as Zedin Hase Pumo. is performed during New Year's celebration, weddings, horse races, and other festivals. This ancient tradition has been preserved without interruption over the centuries. The performer places great emphasis on their costumes and expressions, maintaining a solemn and rigid demeanor throughout the dance. Ladies and gentlemen, the Markham dance. Thank you. Now we have the next song, which is called Kongshe Chogorling. And let me give you a brief introduction about Kongshe Chogorling. Kongshe Chogorling is one of the four main Chogorling is related to Kongo region, and it is one of the four main regions comprising southeastern Tibet. It is the destination for many who wish to receive teachings and founding of many monasteries. The immensity of its spiritual engagement was clear from the title of the song. Over 50% of Kongpo is made of forest, and its climate is mild and humid. This dance is performed on the first day of the 10th month of the Tibetan lunar calendar to mark the auspiciousness of the first day of Kongpo Losar, with the organization of many cultural events and competitive games, particularly the archery skill competition. The song extols the beautiful landscapes, forest, medicinal plants, and exhibits their archery skills. Ladies and gentlemen, Kongshe Chogorling. next song, which is called Sengcham. In Tibetan regions, there's a lion dance known as the snow lion dance or Sengcham. The term Senge and its variations derive from the Sanskrit words Sina, and Cham signifies a Buddhist ritual dance. It can be performed in both secular and ritual contexts and is also practiced in other Himalayan regions. The snow lion, symbolizing sovereignty and protection, holds significance as an ancient Indian emblem. In early Buddhism, the lion became associated with Shakyamuni Buddha, also referred to as Shakya Singha. Now the title of the song is Sengcham. Please welcome. Then we have the next cultural performance, Kidong dance, Kawe Choksudu. This dance has been a part of the grand ceremonial reception extended to the High Lamas at events in the east of Kidong, and activities in the southern part of the region are mostly attended by the leaders of the lay communities. With the passage of time, many of the ancient songs are sung one after another, and it has gained a huge popularity amongst the people. In the song, dancers praise their spiritual and community leaders and the beautiful landscape of Kidong, which is located in the southern part of Tibet. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the song called Kidong Dance, Kawe Choksudu.
Oh
Ladies and gentlemen, the very last and the most attractive element of today's culture performance, we have a group song by the Tibetan Institute of Performing Art, Dharamshala, which is called Thank You, India. And let me just give you a brief overview. This Hindi group song is a heartfelt expression of gratitude to the government and people of India for offering refuge and unwavering support since 1959. It acknowledges India's crucial role in helping the Tibetan community preserve its rich cultural heritage, spiritual traditions, and access to modern education. The song also pays tribute to India for providing a platform that allows Tibetan culture to thrive and be shared globally. It highlights the Nalanda tradition of Buddhism and Indian legacy now reaching the world through the teachings of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. As custodians of Tibetan performing arts in exile, we extend our deepest thanks to India for its continued generosity and support.
Hello, test hello everyone. Track please.
जिस देश से संसार को है ज्ञान का प्रकाश मिला, वैदिक पुराणों में जहाँ सत्य का सुमन खिला।
So, hello. Can you play it again? Hello. Hello. So. Yeah.
जिस देश से संसार को है ज्ञान का प्रकाश मिला, वैदिक पुराणों में जहाँ सत्य का सुमन खिला। ये देश जो संसार का उत्कर्ष है, ऐसा देश जो पूरे विश्व में भारतवर्ष है। कोटि नमन भारत तुझे, कोटि नमन, कोटि नमन।
शिष्य तिब्बत है भारत का, करता है कोटि नमन। तेरी ही गोदी में पला है, शिष्य तेरा है चमन। तेरे भरोसे हम जिए हैं, ऐ मेरे भारतवर्ष। रखवाला है तू सभ्यता का, बचाई है संसार की छन।
हिमालय की विशालता सामर्थ्य में प्रवीण है। भारत तिब्बत का मिलन सदियों से प्राचीन है। धर्म दर्शन संस्कृति भाषा सबका एक चित्र है। ये मिलन अनुमान बेमिसाल पूरे विश्व अमर घोष काव्य से ही हमने जो संवाद किया। सरस्वती चंद्र ज्ञान से वचनों का अनुवाद किया। विक्रमशिला और नालंदा जैसे विद्या मंदिरों में संतराक्षित, कमलशील और अतीश के सानिध्य में हजारों अनुवादकों की कर्मभूमि है तिब्बत। प्रणाम करते हैं भारत तुझे, कोटि कोटि शतशः। सभ्यता का मिलन करवाया जिन अनुवाद करना, मानवता का दिग्दर्शन करवाया जिन जिन साधकों ने। इस धरती पर जिन्होंने किया मानवता का चित्र है। भारत तिब्बत का मिलन बेमिसाल और चिन्ह है। ये देश जो संसार का वसुंधरा को कुटुंब है कहता और शादी का प्रतीक है शास्त्र शास्त्र में की चुन्नी काटा जब चीन ने हरण किया तब गुरु ने आगे बढ़कर शिष्य को शरण दिया है सच्चा रक्षक मानवता का जिसका हमने वर्ण किया हमारी सभ्यता संस्कृति की और जीवन ज्ञान की रक्षा की तूने हमारे हमको पहचान
बच्चों की शिक्षा की सुविधाएं हैं और विद्यालय धर्म दर्शन संस्कृति की रक्षा हेतु बोले यहाँ विश्वविद्यालय सरल जीविका के साधन सहज भी उपलब्ध है देवभूमि में बिताए कुशल 7 वर्ष है कैसे धन्य कहूँ भारत मिलते नहीं मुझे शब्द है
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. With this, we have come to the conclusion of the very Tibetan culture performance for today's evening session. And I hope you really enjoyed the performance today by TIPA, Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. Right. So please, I once again request all of you to kindly pay them a huge round of applause, the whole team of Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. On this note, I would like to invite our director, Venerable Geshe Dorje Gandula, to kindly come on stage and offer the white scarf as a token of gratitude and the souvenir to the director of Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, Mr. Thunruchiringla. I request Mr. Thunruchiringla to kindly come on stage. I would also like to request the whole team of TIPA to kindly come on stage together. I once again would like to request the whole team of TIPA at the backstage to kindly come on stage. We would like to offer you the white scarf as a deep admiration and a token of gratitude. I request the team to kindly come one by one to receive the white scarf from Venerable Geshe-la. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a huge round of applause for the wonderful performance and eye-catching and a marvelous performance of the evening. Now I request, now may I invite our distinguished guest of honor to kindly come on stage. The director, Mr. Thadusila, would like to offer you the white scarf and the souvenir as a token of their appreciation. I would request all the distinguished guests of honor to kindly come on stage. Kasu Srimati Digi Chunala. Then we have Mr. Jigme Juglila, the representative of Bureau of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, New Delhi. Then we have Mrs. Minoti Bari, the founding trustee of Shikshanta School, Gurgaon. Last but not least, Mr. Manuel Bauer. May I now request our distinguished guest of honor and our director, Venerable Geshe Dojit Abdullah, and the whole team of TIPA to kindly stay on the stage for a quick group photo. Once again, I request to give them a huge round of applause. Thank you, our esteemed dignitaries and Venerable Geshe-la. Now, we are going to have a book discussion on the book, The Dalai Lama, by Mr. Manuel Bauer, who has documented the life of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama and photographed his commitment to peace on numerous journeys. And I would also like to invite Ms. Gauri Gilji, a Delhi-based photographer known for acclaimed national and international exhibition and award-winning work. On this note, I would like to invite Ms. Gauri Gilji and Mr. Manuel Bauer.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. So, hello everyone. It's been an amazing day, a really beautiful day. I don't know how we are going to beat Teepa and the Snow Lions, but Manuel, you're going to have to. Yeah. So, yeah, and the film, of course, to have had, this incredible celebration, so many wonderful, speeches and celebration of His Holiness's life. We have just come from a week celebrating His Holiness in Dharamsala, both of us as photographers. And since we are speaking about photography and His Holiness, I want to actually begin by saying how, when I think of His Holiness, I think of someone who has opened himself up to a life of scrutiny. I can't think of anyone who has been photographed so much over so many years. And he said in the film, he spoke about trust versus suspicion and opening the inner door, And I feel he has exemplified that through his relationship with photography. His kindness, to so many people to whom he has gifted himself. And we were among 200 photographers this past week in Dharamsala. We were in an incredible jostle, everyone, of course, wanting a picture of His Holiness. And I saw there were moments like we were over there, all of us contorted and trying to we have pictures of that, like everyone, like one hydra-headed beast of arms and legs and cameras and faces. And His Holiness at certain moments, looked at us and laughed, like at the absurdity of it, as I felt. But then every time he left or he entered, he paused, he looked, he made, I think everyone got a photograph, wherever we were, the 200 people. And the immense kindness of that, of someone who makes even photographers feel seen. I want to say that about His Holiness. Manuel, would you like to say something about this week that we've just had in Dharamsala? Your mic.
Well, it was very intense. There was so many supporters and friends of His Holiness. So also for us, there was a lot of engagement next to the celebrations. It was a very emotional week as well. Politically, then personal. Yeah, I'm quite tired now after this intense week. Yeah.
Yes, the intensity of, this week. And I want to begin by asking Manuel, how it was to first, of course, you were very young and, you came into it, as you said this morning, through photographing the Tibetans, and then coming to His Holiness. But still, I think you knew that He is a living God, right? Or someone who is so important to so many people today, of course, to the world. But even then, the weight and the responsibility of representing someone like that. So how did you begin? And we see in the book that you've managed very beautifully to collapse the distance between the public and private lives of His Holiness, right? So you're photographing him, not only you're photographing him at the Kala Chakra, but in his office, during meditating, eating his food or looking out of his balcony, on his treadmill. So can you speak to that? I mean, how this process of humanizing a living God?
Well, it started very slow. I mean, it's a very slow process to get closer and to also learn what actually the important things are that I should show, or show. So I believe in time, taking the time. Photography is all about time. It's about a lot of research first, then it's a lot about organizing techniques, knowing when to be where, and it's also about time while taking the picture, wait for the decisive moment. The beauty of photography is to be capable, no other media can do this very glimpse of a second that we don't see because it goes so fast. In theater it goes fast, in music or in video it goes fast, but photography can freeze this one moment. But that it's a perfect moment, also the photographer has to invest time. So it's a lot about time, but to get closer to His Holiness is also about a lot of time and patience. So my motivation in the beginning was pretty much only political, because when I start to read in the late 80s about Tibet, I was just deeply touched by this horrible situation politically inside Tibet. So that was my motivation. So whenever I was in India on assignments or my own project, I kept some time and money, my private money, to continue to document the Tibetan refugees, to somehow make noise against this horrible situation in Tibet. And then His Holiness was always part somehow. And then only over the years I realized there is only these images of this famous monk from Tibet, simple monk, but famous, waving into the camera, on stage, all these stereotypes of pictures, but there is no imagery that tries to see beyond this, what we see in the paper. So slowly this wish came up, not this wish, this urge that somebody has to document this, because there was no official photographer, there was no archive, there was nothing. But His Holiness definitely is one of the most important persons in our time. And an image is very important. I, as a youngster who was kind of pacifist, and I try somehow to work for peace or for nature, it was beautiful to have an image in me of Mahatma Gandhi, to know how this great, person looked like, gave me kind of a base for my ideas or for my beliefs. So icon, in all religion, the image of a god or of a saint is a very important thing. But there was no comprehensive visual body of work on His Holiness. So only after 11 years photographing him, I approached him directly and asked, it's so important, somebody has to fully, also behind the stage, record what he's doing the whole day, because we don't see these things, how disciplined His Holiness is. We always see this cheerful person and be very kind, but this is discipline. It's so hard work to be so giving every day. This is discipline. Every day 5 hours of meditation to be ready to train compassion. It's a training. It's work since his youth. And we could all do this as well. And I wanted to show this holistic or whole aspect who His Holiness is. So it started very political, then I start to contemplate. It's a long process. And then also to get this access is a very long process. His Holiness immediately said, well, you can be with me 24 hours. And sorry, Geshe, but he said, you can sleep in my room. I never would do this. But that shows how open he is. But then there is many other protocols like security, and security comes first, not my image. Or all his engagements, I mean, he's so working hard. So all the presidents or the scientists he meets, that's all more important than my camera or my image. So it's a lot waiting and asking, maybe tomorrow, please. And so these images you see that are private, it looks like I just go in and out. It's not like this, maybe sometimes only a minute, or it looks so relaxed, but it's very tough then, because if His Holiness would invite me to photograph a retreat where for several days or week nobody would have access to him, and I might work over years to document this and get permission. But then you get up at 2 and then the situation is not right, they send you back, you wait again, and always you sleep really bad because you're nervous, and again, and over months or years, and then finally you're there and the door opens and you see him in meditation, complete in a solitary and concentrated. I don't want to be there. I want to run away because I don't want to disturb him. I mean, I have two choices. I could just sit down and enjoy, but that's not why I'm there. I'm there to be professional, and given that opportunity and privilege, my duty is to bring out this real picture that is honest and genuine from that situation. But to be honest, I'm shivering and shaking and sweating because it's so much. I don't want to disturb His Holiness. So, but then to switch to a professional situation, and as soon as I believe I have really the right, the true image, then I go out.
But your images of His Holiness meditating are very powerful, including in the film, you know, and they really are inspiring to so many of us, including all the students who see that the effort, as you say, that he puts into being who he is. Can you say a little bit more about photographing him when he was meditating, and did you ever feel you might disturb him, or could you?
This tension is huge, you know. To do a good picture, you have to click. Now it's with digital, you can do it quite, but you have to definitely move, because to find the right angle. So it's, I mean, I try to do my best to do it that you don't even realize that I'm there, but you know. But then the good thing about His Holiness, and I think this is unique, I never met in my 40 years of photography a person like this. If I come with a camera, I always disturb. I don't like cameras. I really don't like this tool. No, to be honest. The only thing why I like it, I think it's a good medium to build bridges, to communicate, to maybe contribute to a more peaceful or better planet. I believe in the medium, but I hate the camera and the process of taking. I mean, in English they even say shoot, but it's, yeah, horrible. But actually it's taking your image. And so I hold this, I hide behind this machine, I hold this machine in your face, and you just have to trust me. But why should you trust me? Because if I have your image, I have power over you. There is some natives who would say stealing the soul with photography. And it's somehow true. I have power over you because I can manipulate you or your whatever by misusing your image. So I really have a very ambivalent relationship to my profession. So I'm aware of these things. So I try to somehow be professional in a sense that I'm aware of the dark sides of my profession. But to finish the sentence, the unique thing about His Holiness, whenever I would take a picture of each of you, you would feel disturbed, and we would take very long until you get natural. But with His Holiness, it's no problem at all, because he trains his whole life, he's training to be focused on the important thing. Compassion, very complex philosophical question, whatever. In a glimpse of a second, he can focus. So then, after a couple of years, I approached him and asked, please, do I not disturb too much? And then His Holiness looked at me and said, no, I just enjoy you. So, you know, His Holiness prays the whole day for all of you, for all sentient beings in this universe, but me, He ignores. So it's really a very bad karma I have.
And Manuel, you speak, His Holiness speaks, I mean, he calls himself a simple Buddhist monk, right?
And I'm a simple photographer.
Yes, and I once asked you if you are Buddhist, and you said no, right? But you have the extraordinary merit, karma, will, to have followed, you know, to have been drawn to have followed this great living Buddha for 35 years. So how, this idea of a simple Buddhist monk, how do you see it play out in his life? How is he a simple Buddhist monk? You know, he's the way we see him, he's, you know, he's an icon, as you say, but he's also apparently a simple Buddhist monk. So how did you see that in his life?
Well, I come with photography because I think not using is the wrong word, but he gave me the opportunity, or maybe I somehow, let's say, he realized the opportunity with me to show that he's a human being like everybody else and the simple Buddhist monk from Tibet. Because I was this strange Swiss guy from outside. Sure, I studied the Tibetan culture, I tried to know the rules. But because I'm an outsider, I might know the rules, but I can also do mistakes. Because I'm not so much blamed because I'm this ignorant white guy. So I could play with this a little bit. And not to judge, but for a Tibetan photographer, some of the images I do would be much more difficult to do, being, Buddhist, being in the culture itself. So I, like a joker in a castle, I had this little bit, extra flexibility or whatever. So His Holiness, also from the beginning, there was a very close just human relationship, because that's the beauty about His Holiness. He doesn't care what robe you wear, where you're from, if you're the president from the United States or just a sweeper. He really doesn't care. He approaches every person on one-to-one, eye level, same. There is no hierarchy. And so he realized, maybe, I cannot say. I don't think even he thinks in that terms of what we would call propaganda or image. But somehow I think this close relation made it possible that he could show himself, because as a just simple Buddhist monk from Tibet, because usually he sits on that throne. But that's not where he wants to be very often. He does it because of, his understanding of tradition is huge, and to support and keep tradition. But then he really feels like a human being as everybody else. So with me, he could show himself just coming from a shower, or being in meditation as he is in the morning without robe. And why would he allow me to do these pictures? It is to show I'm a human being like everybody else. Don't make this big thing out of me. And I was, to give a sample, I was accused by mainly Western followers of His Holiness or Buddhists that I'm a paparazzi and I should not take these private pictures. And I don't know what they understand. They thought maybe I stand behind the curtain waiting and they didn't understand anything. But it's His Holiness asking me to come in. And sometimes I was shocked, that he would ask me to come in. And I got very beautiful feedback from Tibetan. One old lady, I heard from her daughter, that was a book I did 20 years ago. She turned the pages, and all in a sudden there was this image of His Holiness in a very early, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning meditation, and he doesn't care how he looks like. And she was just shocked. And then she immediately closed the book. But later she, slowly opened the page again, and I believe for her that's exactly how she has her Dalai Lama inside. We all have this very close relationship to him. We feel like, sure, we know what the facts are, that he's a bodhisattva and Buddha of compassion. We all know this, his importance in politics, in guiding all. But somehow we have a very private, I believe, because he's so human. And I think many would say, no, you would never say, but I feel many would feel like, you know, it's a father, or it's a very close relationship. Nobody would dare to, you know, speak out, but it is very private. And so I think she saw this or felt this, and the monk once told me, no, Manuel, these images are no problem, but I'm sorry, maybe I'm ignorant. And he said, you know, on Tuesday there is washing day in the monastery, it's the free day, and so they go down to the river to wash the clothes, and their teachers are there as well. So it's kind of natural, it's not, yeah. So, and I think he wants to, yeah, show him like this.
Yeah, so what I find very moving also is that though you say you're not a Buddhist, you just said His Holiness can feel like one's father. You know, you once said to me that you think he's the most good person you've ever met. That whether he's in Versailles or in Spiti, you've seen him follow the same life and, you know, schedule, getting up. So, you know, the discipline again of being who he is. So can you speak a little bit to that, you know, just as, like, you know, I think it's so interesting that even as someone who's not a Buddhist, you can be or not, you know, you can see His Holiness as, I don't want to, I mean, devotee, or as someone who loves him, let's say, which
Definitely.
transcends.
I hope the whole world should love him. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly his beliefs. It's about secular ethics. I mean, Tibet, Buddhism, tradition, and modernizing of that's all there, sure, and being a monk. But then we have all these other commitments of him, secular ethics and oneness of humanity. So it's all there. So it's not just that he speaks about it; he lives it, and I'm one of the person he lives it. But I also was there when some High Lama disrobed. And he then, this High Rinpoche was, you know, it was difficult to tell His Holiness that he would disrobe, but then His Holiness would say, doesn't matter what robe you wear, it matters, you know, what kind of a human being you are and what you do with your life. And that's exactly, for him, I believe it's just natural to accept an outsider like me. And sure, I have all my respect of His Holiness anyway, of Tibetan Buddhism and philosophy. I always said, if I would be, you know, a religious person, then definitely it would be Tibetan Buddhism, but then I realized I would be a very bad monk. Because if I would become a Buddhist, I would want to do it sincerely. That would mean I move to a monastery, and no chance for my stupid brain to learn Tibetan. I mean, there is reasons why I became a photographer, because I don't know language and don't know how to write. And so for years I would first learn Tibetan, very mediocre. I'm a very kind of, maybe today they would call me a little bit handicapped, because I cannot sit still. So I would be a very bad monk. It wouldn't make sense that I become a monk. So I realized I can contribute more if I stick to my profession, and because I could enter on a quite okay level, not like if I would be a monk, really, really working hard to become nobody. But with photography I entered quite high, and I worked very hard to improve the qualities I already had. So that makes more sense in life, to invest somewhere where you're already on a high level, and then, but still work hard, not just say, I'm okay. So that was and I thought I can contribute to Tibet more if I stay a photographer than become a monk. And little bit Buddhist, I didn't want to.
So there's a whole sequence of pictures, you know, of His Holiness with people where you can see him comforting them, right? And you can see how there's almost a sense that there's no difference between him and them, right? And he also says on one of, one of the captions, and the captions are very beautifully done, I must say, in the book, as well as the texts by Dr. Thupten Jinpa. But there's also exhaustive captions at the end for each photograph by Christian Schmidt. But he says I should dispel the suffering of others because it is suffering like my own suffering. So I wanted to speak about how you may have observed this aspect of His Holiness, as you said, the Buddha of compassion, Arya Avalokiteshvara, you saw it very close up.
I think it's difficult to find such a true person like His Holiness. I mean, I'm sure if we go to the jungles in India, maybe difficult now because there is nearly no remote areas on that planet anymore, but there might be genuine people still who are not distracted and disturbed. But His Holiness is completely, I'm not sure if the English word genuine is right, but why is he so authentic? There is a reason to it. And when I, after 10 years, decided to go closer and look behind the scene, behind the stage, I thought, Manuel, now you lose your Dalai Lama. Huh? Because we all have projections in superstars. We think we know who Shah Rukh Khan is, and I will marry him because I know him so closely. But it's all projection. And I thought I have a projection in the Dalai Lama as well. I wanted him to be perfect and compassionate and loving kindness. So I thought, now that you start this project as a journalist and also searching facts and be honest, I thought, now I lose my Dalai Lama. It will be difficult for me. But the beauty with him is you don't lose him. He is exactly what we project in him, in a sense that we wish he is the best human being on that planet. We wish him to be that, and he is. But why is that so? It's because compassion is the sole logical center of our being together. And every second, His Holiness is checking on himself, on his emotions. Is it compassion-based? Do I have an agenda or some egoistic motivation? What is my motivation? And he trains this in what he called in the movie analytical meditation. He trains his mind to check on his emotions 24 hours. Even in his dreams, he does it. And he always goes back to the center. Is it compassion-based? So that's why he's so authentic and why he is always this loving kindness. But to get there, this is hard work. And so when I'm with him, when I have this privilege of, let's say, travel 3 weeks with him, I observe this. Early in the mornings to early days, the program even went late evenings sometimes. I can prove it by observation that he lives this every second. And when you see this, you can, how to say, lived compassion, or like embodied in daily life, in interaction, compassion, it's so logical and it's such an imprint on me as an observer that when I come home, it's very clear, it's just when I see somebody unhappy or feel this person is unhappy, this compassion is really like exploding. It's like I would be a ball that was filled by him somehow, and it just wants to flow to this person. But then in the West, I cannot go and comfort her, or hug this person, or it's very difficult in the West. And so, but it's such a clear logic behind it. And the problem I think we in our daily life have is to implement this in the daily life, in all this distraction and all this, you know, tension. I mean, we Swiss are crazy how we worked all day and are caught up in fights and stupid things. And so I have to be honest, in the beginning, this idea of trying to live it as he is a master, a teacher in it, and to try to a little bit implement it, then after a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or 4, again I'm caught up in, and it's hard to fight, and then even I would start to be angry at my dishwasher who makes a little noise, you know.
And speaking of that, you know, it does strike you in the book and the film that His Holiness has had to be, I mean, first he had to leave Tibet, you know, his kingdom, then come to India, then travel the world and so often be in alien environments, even hostile, you know, to be in airports, to be in the West, to be in the White House, to be in the UN, to be addressing 60,000 people, or, you know, to be in the winter in Norway. How have you seen him like deal with so many different environments and, you know, so many different situations?
That's his bodhisattvahood, I would say, because he even compromises on his practice, maybe, isn't it? Because he gives so much to all of us, traveling so hard. Actually, you could also say, well, I use this because the first thing he really is focusing on is being a monk and a student. He still says, I'm still a student. I want to learn more and become better. So actually, he could have the motivation to say, hey, I'm a monk. I want to, you know, study harder. But a lot of his lifetime he gave to us, you know, and I think that's his, his bodhisattva nature to live among us, to help us to find, the right path. And although he would say, first I'm a monk, but he would cut the time of being a monk to share with us and take all this. You cannot imagine how hard his days were when he was so active, and not one day, it's every day, giving, every day. Doesn't matter what time zone, doesn't matter how much jet lag, doesn't matter how hard the day before was. Every morning, 3:30, getting up to meditate, to be giving the day. It's not that it was always like this. I think it's hard work. And maybe it's difficult for devotees or for Tibetan Buddhists if I talk like this. But let's say from a Western understanding, and I allow myself to come up with this, maybe there is no reincarnation. Sorry to say. Let's say it's just it's a possibility that there is no reincarnation. That would mean there is no tulku lines. So that would mean His Holiness was just naturally born and then learned all the good that he is today by himself. Can you imagine that this is not a line over centuries? That would mean he teaches us how good we could get or become as a human being. And this is hard work, but he shows us that it's possible to reach such a stage if we are disciplined. I don't say that's, I say there is two ways. One is there possibly is reincarnation, and there is the bodhisattva and the reincarnation and the looking for the tulku, the lineage, and the knowledge is already there. It just has to be, via education a little bit, you know, how to say, grown again, but it's there already. Or maybe it's Darwinism. There is nothing, it's just birth, death. But then in one lifetime he managed.
That again is His Holiness, that he can speak to science, you know, as much as to the oracle, or, you know, he has so many dimensions. How does he feel about photography in general, about being photographed, about your work? You know, you showed him, I think you've also done a book with Matthew Ricard, a very well-regarded book. Would you like to say something?
Well, he loves photography. As you might know, he's very interested also in techniques, in machines. And so to understand how back then a still camera works, that was like how does a watch work. It was his interest. So he took cameras apart. So he has a respect on photography, on the medium. And I think he has a knowledge and an eye. And there is one story that a photographer, she dropped her camera while taking pictures of him. Then he said, leave it with me, leave it with me. I give it. And so he repaired it overnight and gave it back to her. So he knows what photography is. And when I did the last book 20 years ago, I had an understanding with him that he will authorize all images that I will publish. I will not publish anything that he didn't agree on. So I came with the dummy, like the book before it's printed, but nearly finished, so he could go through and then tell me censorship, not this, not. So when I went there, I thought, Manuel, prepare yourself, because most probably he would take the dummy, then put it away and ask, how are you? And I would be completely, you know, like sad because he didn't honor my work, but then actually would be a sign of respect, no? So I was like kind of preparing for me, whatever thing would come, but then he sat down maybe an hour in silence, going through the whole book. And in that old book, I didn't include these images. It's very private. There is images where you see him without any dress, upper body. I mean, whoa. And I thought, he looked at it, he turned the page, he looked at images like this, and I thought, what's going on? And all in a sudden, at the end of the book, he stood still and said, no, we cannot publish this. And I was puzzled because it was a picture of his living room or study from far, and he was seated. In the picture, he's so small, you know, seating, and with the text in front of him, and opposite of him, there is Rezong Rinpoche, a very respected Lama, who did an oral transmission of a text with His Holiness. So His Holiness would say, in this situation, I'm not the teacher. Rezong Rinpoche is the teacher, but I don't want to sit higher than my teacher. So he thought maybe his attendees have given a higher address to His Holiness than to Rezong Rinpoche. And then he asked for, a meter.
Inch tape.
Yeah, and he measured in the picture how thick the cushion is under him and under Rezong Rinpoche. And then he realized, it's the perspective and the gesture, the body, and he's not sitting higher than Rezong Rinpoche, and only then he allowed me to publish that image.
Which also speaks to his humility and, you know, his greatness. Of course, His Holiness is inseparable from Tibet and the Tibetan people, and you have made an important book called Escape from Tibet. Would you like to say something about that book and that journey? And what you have learned maybe from the Tibetan people and that journey?
Well, I might have to give a small summary, but I was aware as a photographer I cannot go into Tibet and knock on Drapchi prison or any prison and ask, hello Chinese, please I would like to take pictures of torture or, or go to a hospital where you, forced abortion in the 9th month. Could I please, sorry, it's a little bit ugly, but that's what the problem is. How can I document this genocide, in Tibet? So I realized I cannot really do the most important images. I don't manage to do them since I was not allowed in Tibet anyway as a journalist. It was all clandestine, hiding and hide and seek with the police and the military, quite adventurous. But then I realized that if there is still refugees after so many decades who risk their life to walk one of the most dangerous routes on the planet, knowing that they might die, to leave their beloved motherland. They don't want to leave. Their families there, they believe in Tibet, yet they risk their life to escape. So I told myself, if I can prove that they risk their life to leave their beloved country, this document would prove that something is wrong in their country. Otherwise, you would not do that trip. So that was my motivation, and the rest is long stories, how I could find refugees that would take the risk to take me. And so it's a long story. But finally I managed, and sadly it's still the only real document of escape from Tibet. So I managed to walk over the Himalayas, the Nangpala, this high pass where we know that there is the shooting of refugees by the Chinese border guards, and there is crevasses and snowstorm. We don't know how many Tibetans die on that trip. So, it is, and I'm often asked, why did you take that risk? And sure, there was one little but small part, I believe, I was this young photographer and I want to become a good photographer, and so if you do such a story as the only guy, blah, blah, blah. So a little bit, I have to be honest, was there, but I think the most important motivation is compassion. Not that I want to play me big in compassion, but I saw the suffering and I read and interviewed people from Tibet. I knew how much suffering in this country, in these people is because of the Chinese occupation. And for me it was just natural. I didn't even ask myself, should I take that risk? Maybe our chance, the father, the daughter, and me, our chance was maybe 50-50 to die. I was completely aware, but it was natural. I asked myself, why not everybody does it? Because I have a Swiss passport. It's a free decision to risk my life. This is freedom to decide if I want to risk my life. But the Tibetans in Tibet don't have a choice. They don't have this freedom to say, oh, should I risk my life? So for me, it was just very natural, and I think you only can do it with compassion. Otherwise, you would not take this, is it called hardship or what, I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, it's really, really tough. And you don't do this if not for compassion. With the suffering of the Tibetans.
And the father returned to Tibet, and the daughter is still in your life, right? As also a daughter, as a kind of daughter to you. And
yeah, she calls me Pala, but I never really enforced it because for me her Pala is in Tibet. And yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, we were very fortunate. We had very good weather, so we walked only 8 days, sometimes 16 hours a day. We didn't have food. Is not important. You don't eat anymore anyway. But water was a big problem, and for 3 days we didn't have water. And yeah, we nearly died on that. But then, so we came over the Himalayas, and then from the beginning it was clear the father just brings out the daughter, so in hope for Tibet, that she has a future, a Tibetan future in the exile community, but then maybe one day bringing back knowledge and Tibetan culture to Tibet. It was clear from the beginning that the father would return. And for me, actually, now it's very long ago, I allow myself to publicly, sometimes in smaller gatherings, I mention this. Before I wouldn't have, because it's just too dangerous for him. But when we came down, he had 5 trousers against the cold. And when we came down from Nang Pala, this 5,760 meter high pass, when it would get a little bit warmer, he took off one of his trousers and hide it behind a stone, and we came down more. He would take off another trouser. So 4 of his 5 trousers were hidden on that route. And then we went to Dharamsala, and we looked at the girl is fine. We stayed there with her 10 days. She was 6-year-old. And when we felt she's comfortable, we together came by the night bus to Delhi. So this is still emotional for me. And in Delhi, the Swiss guy with his red passport and the air ticket, back then it was the national, was Swiss Air, was called. So I entered this plane. Would you like to have some orange juice, Mr. Bauer? And there was this classical music. And I know I fly now in this safe country, Switzerland, with health insurance and, you know, banks and security. But the same day, at that time, I knew the father would collect his pence, walking back on this very dangerous journey. So for me, this was the most difficult part of that trip, knowing that I have this stupid privileged life, and he has to go back in this occupied country, suffering and maybe not surviving, you know, the route, being shot.
What year was this, Anya? What year did you make?
It was 95. It's exact. Actually, it's just. I mean, there was the 90th birthday of His Holiness, but there was the 30th anniversary between the girl and me of our escape. We were in a restaurant together, and I just realized, oh, it's exactly 30 years ago. So we toasted on our trip.
Mm-hmm. So the Tibetan people, as you say, you have, you know, had such an intense and close relationship. And are there other things you would like to speak to, you know, that relationship, what you may have missed as not being Tibetan, what you learned from, I mean, this is a beautiful in itself, as you describe, you know.
Well, it's a big privilege to be allowed to get so close in another culture. But my Tibetan is very pure. I tried, but it's very poor. And so sometimes I think I missed a lot of knowledge being so involved. But on the other hand, I think it was it was also a good thing, because there is so many meetings that I shouldn't be there, or there is so many, you know, things that actually is not for public, that maybe it was good. I didn't understand much, so I was kind of a neutral thing. And the other part is, photography is, in the sense that I understand it is, we have 2 kind of brains, more the rational, more the intuition, and more the emotional. And as a photographer, I think for me a good photographer is that he can link these 2 brains very fast, but he also can stay on one side. So when you prepare yourself for a story, it's a lot of research and a lot of logics and ratio. But in the moment of taking pictures, I don't even listen anymore. I mean, I listen what's going on in the room. I might, oh, now the topic changed. Also the content for my image changes, yes, but not complex, not detailed. And it's sense, it's smell, it's feeling for what the situation and the emotion in the room is. So all my senses are very transparent. I'm like a medium then. And I cannot, my ratio is not there to understand complex teachings of his owners. So somehow I missed a lot. On the other hand, for photography, I think it also was good that I had this block filter and blocking sensors, some parts of what is imposed on me to be a good photographer, and just visual and emotion and yeah.
And finally, you know, also His Holiness, and of course he says we must lead a meaningful life, right? And we all, I guess each of us, you know, we reflect on what that meaningful life is or what a life of purpose is. You know, in his book, there are so many of his values, you know, keep coming up. For instance, he says he doesn't like his followers to spend too much money on buildings, but would rather they heed Mother Teresa and spend money on social projects. Or would you like to say, you know, from what you have observed, what do you think His Holiness would feel to be a life of meaning, a life of purpose, and his core values as you observe them?
Well, I think we heard a lot of it today, so I don't want to repeat. But for me, like, it's not even a conclusion or a learning. I think for me it was clear from childhood. The very simple answer to the question about the meaning of life is doing good. I mean, I'm in this European way of thinking and questioning everything. So I still have a problem to be born. By being on this planet, I'm a destroyer already. I destroy nature. I cut the salad and eat the salad, and what I produce, you know, it doesn't smell nice. So I have this, that's kind of a European maybe way of questioning everything. So what my intention is to try at least to maybe at the end, you know, try to balance it and do more good than I already harm by my mere, this may be too crazy, but by my existence, you know, my footprint is huge, you know. I already in the 80s, before climate change was really an official topic, it was there, I already said, oh, you know, in this Christian understanding that we would die and then knock on the door of paradise, and then the guy opens the big doors, and then I would say, hello, let me in, you know, I did so good for the Tibetans and the Tibetan cause, you know, I even risked my life for them. And he would say, down to hell, you flew so much, you know, so much dirt comes out of air. But before we talked about CO2, I already was aware that I'm a problem in this planet. So I think doing good is the only answer to me to the question.
And 35 years of photographing His Holiness, just the length of that time, you know, it makes one think how in some senses he's inexhaustible, that you could want to photograph the same person for so long. Can you speak to that? And also, how do you think that's changed you, 35 years of?
Well, I mean, there is two aspects, I would say, that photographing somebody or a subject for so long. The beauty with His Holiness is that it's never tiring, because he's so inspiring, and because he looks at himself as a student still, improving himself. It's the respect, working, or not working, but observing, yeah, being close for over so many years. Actually, the respect improves. It's not that it gets boring. it increases the respect of him. You always recover new qualities. The other thing is the photography, you know. Working so long on the same subject, or in this case, a person, maybe one day you do a really good image after 5 years, and maybe 7 years later again you do a good image, but then it's more and more difficult to top these good images. So you wait longer and longer and longer to top the images you already have, and sometimes this is quite tough. Yeah, to then still try to find that picture that is better than the 198 or something. So that's an aspect. And yeah, what now it's a new time. Yeah, we are in a new chapter now that His Holiness doesn't travel so much. It's not so active in the outside world anymore. So this is a new chapter also for my work that I have to contemplate on.
And do you miss him when you haven't, just miss him, like not as a photographer, but, miss seeing him? And can you just also speak to your relationship as two human,
Yeah, well,
a Buddha and a...
missing him, yes, but also this is this professional aspect as well. For long, I wake up in the morning and think in Switzerland, what am I doing here? I should, work on that project to give it to the world even more images and more depth to it. So there was always this feeling of, oh, I should go, and that was there. And then, but this personal relationship is there, but I think we carry him in us, even if we are not in his presence.
Thank you, Manuel, that you're really meticulous, expansive, heartfelt, important document. Yeah, the book, the film, and I would like to ask if anyone has questions. We can take a couple, if anyone would like to.
You also can say you want to go home.
Thank you so much, Manuel. Absolutely wonderful movie and wonderful discussion now. What I articulated earlier, if your movie could be available, I know it may not be in your hands, but for education purposes, because you've covered so much about climate, about science, about things for the future, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for all your work.
Well, this is hard for me, but I don't have the rights on this movie. It is with the production companies, and it's their decision what time in which country it is to be seen. And for me, with a Tibetan heart, it's quite sad that it should have premiered in Dharamsala, it should have first played in India, and for me this would have been natural, because we took all the knowledge from Tibetan culture, especially from His Holiness. We should first give it back, or at least expose ourselves. Maybe you don't like it, but give it back first. It's kind of a colonial attitude, I feel. But I can only try to influence and to just suggest, but I have no rights to show the movie. I had a special permission to show it once today. But it will come, I'm sure. There is some strategies in the distribution, what you do first, what you do next, which markets are important to be first and second. And then you also need in India a good partner that you think it really goes out. And then, so there is also other aspects. So definitely it will come to India. And I believe it plays on Apple TV, but then again, I don't know in the Indian market if you if, you know, every country might be taken different for Apple TV and Netflix and all, they have these regions. So I cannot, it's sad for me, very sad, but one day definitely it will run in the theaters, I hope. And I'm very proud that I managed to show it at the Dharamsala International Film Festival last November, and for me this was my world premiere.
Any more questions? And then we would very much like to thank Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdul. Because of him, this day, this screening, this conversation, everything has happened. And, you know, I'm just thinking again, even Manuel, from your words, I was just thinking in a sense, and like that His Holiness is also a kind of Buddha of photography. You know? Because he is the most photographed, again, person that I can think of, and that he has allowed this kind of scrutiny, this kind of, I mean, that is a spirit, that must be a spiritual practice, right? And you have been a medium, as you said, through your eyes. I mean, thank you so much. You have given us this fantastic, from the Kala Chakra to his, you know, His Holiness private quarters, or so many aspects we would not have we would not have access to. So eternally grateful as a student of His Holiness, you know, all of us. Thank you, Manuel.
But first, thank you, Gorilla, Gorichi, but now Gorilla, because the initiative to do the book lounge came here, together with Tibet House, came from Gori. Thank you so much. And thank you, Geshe-la, for making it possible, and Kunkiabla. Thank you so much for, thank you so much for very professional exchange and organization and communication. Thank you so much.
Manuel, I just had a question. Up here. Can you see me, spot me? Yes, thank you. So really, really indebted and grateful for the kind of a compilation you have got it into the book. Just very curious, you know, I was just glancing through the book and looking at the body of the craft which you have from last 35 years or so. One naturally gets biased in terms of the photographs one would have chosen to be part of this kind of a colloquium, to compile it in a book. And one is also very naturally biased in terms of which one should go into one of them. So how did you go about compiling? Because, you know, as a professional photographer with this kind of a length of the body, how did you choose? I was very curious and intrigued about that fact. What made you put those photographs which are specifically part of the book right now?
Well, that's very easy to answer, because there is no, how you say, there is no tip, it's called tip, like there is no advice for you. Because to edit your own images, you never manage. I try 40 years, but it's not possible. Either you be an arrogant photographer and just say, this is very good, or you really are searching, and then you are connected to the pictures too much emotionally. I don't know if we should go so far, but it's a big problem that if there is a very bad scene that is uninteresting, there is no images at all, and it's so boring, but I need to take image, so I crawl through the dirt, and it's horribly raining, and it stinks, and it's dangerous, and then finally, somehow, I did a little bit something out of the nothing, so I feel very proud, you know, what I did, but then there is this great moment, and I just click. So my investment was nothing, but this image must be 1,000 times better maybe, because the situation was better. So to be neutral on these emotions is very difficult. So yeah, it's a long process, takes a lot of time, and then sure, I search for advice, and in this, I mean, the publisher had to say a lot, and I had a very good graphic designer who I also respect. So there might be some images that I don't like so much, or there is a passage in it that I really think is a mistake. But then, this is just my own You know, this is not my book. It has to work with as many people as possible. So I respect these other views because maybe they're right and not me. And they're one of the human beings with a point of view. So I respect them as well, and that's how then it... Well, that was way too uninteresting for most of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the very wonderful book discussion on the book Dalai Lama by Mr. Manuel Bauer and Ms. Gauri Gilji. And now I would like to invite our director, Venerable Geshe Dorje Damdula, on stage to kindly offer the white scarf and the souvenir to Mr. Manuel Bauer and Ms. Gauri Gilji.
Just for information, Mr. Manuel, I know him for many years. So our meetings were all official, so I just professional. I've been always seeing him as a photographer, not as a very humorous person, not as a compassionate person. Today, I see him a very different person, very compassionate and humorous. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, first we have Mr. Manuel Bauer. And then we have Ms. Gauri Gilji.
Great photographer and great human being.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Venerable Gishla. Thank you, sir. Now, without any further... Now, without any further delay, I would like to talk to you about the recent launch of the Tibet House new publication, which was launched on the very auspicious occasion of the 90th birth anniversary of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama on 6 July 2025. On the very auspicious occasion of the birthday of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, I feel deeply honored to share a brief announcement about a milestone in our ongoing academic and cultural journey. Under the esteemed Themisambodha Scholarship and the Sambodha book series, Tibet House continues its steadfast commitment to advancing Tibetan and Buddhist studies. These works reflect our collective dedication to preserving the precious wisdom traditions of Tibet for future generations. We are pleased to announce that on 6 July 2025, in the gracious presence of Shri Iqbal Singh Lalpura Ji, who is the former chairperson of the National Commission for Minority Act, and with our distinguished guest, we have officially launched the 5 important scholarly works. The first we have the book called 3 Eye-Opening and Well-Known Commentaries on Mulla Madhya Makakarika, Part 1 and Part 2, authored by Venerable Geshe Kesan Tenkyo, as you can see on the PowerPoint slide. And then we have the book called A Study on the Rock Art and Inscriptions of Alchi, Ladakh. Third, we have How the Middle View held by all Tibetan Buddhist schools converge into one. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the very important book launch, which was done on 6 July, is the book titled Tracing the Footprints of Je Tsongkhapa. And I would like to inform you all that whoever is interested to buy these books, I would request you to kindly contact our Tibet House official email ID. Thank you. And with this, we have come to the very conclusion of today's evening session. And I would like to invite our Secretary, Mr. Tenzin Kunjibla, to kindly speak a few words of thanks to all of you.
Good evening, everyone. So, on behalf of Tibet House, New Delhi, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our chief guest, Srimati Dr. Nirupama Rao, for accepting our invitation and gracing this event on celebration of the 90th birth anniversary of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I would like to thank the guest of honors for taking time out of their busy schedule for sharing their insights and for being with us today. I would like to thank Mr. Manuel for premiering this movie, Wisdom of Happiness, in Delhi. Likewise, Ms. Gauri Gill for inviting Mr. Manuel Bauer on behalf of Tibet House. And I thank all the dignitaries, guests, and participants for your active participation, and similarly, the parents and faculty members of Shikshanta School for exposing their children to such an educational and cross-cultural event. Last but not least, I would like to thank my colleagues and all the volunteers for their tireless efforts day and night in putting this grand celebration together. With this, I would like to call upon our Venerable Director, Venerable Keshav Tandula, again on the stage to please felicitate the volunteers. And I would like to request our volunteers to please join us on stage when I call upon their names. Ms. Sakshi Arora, Mr. Stanton Punsok, Mr. Arpit Bob, Mr. Nima Wangdi, Mr. Lobsang Drema, Mr. Rinzin, Ms. Sonam Doker. Okay. Sakshi Arora. Stanton Punsok. Arpit Bauk. Mr. Nima Wangdi. Mr. Lobsang Drema, Ms. Lobsang Drema. Mr. Rinzin. Ms. Sonam Doker. Ms. Tenzin Norton. Ms. Namsa Lamo. Ms. Chuki Langso. Ms. Chuki Langso. Ms. Deden Lamo. Ms. Deden Lamo. Mr. Chamba Vincent. Mr. Tejin Palge. Mr. Tenzin Pelge. Thank you, Venerable Geshe-la. So with this, we have come to the end of today's event, and I would like to request Venerable Geshe-la to please conclude this event with some auspicious verses.
Thank you, Tensu Kunjabla. So we see that as Tensu Kunjabla rightly indicated, all the Tibet House staff, they worked so tirelessly since many months. And also that we had many supporters with the initial conception of the conference meetings, conceiving the idea about how to organize this program. We had many supporters who gave us beautiful ideas. And one person who I like to mention here is the Gauri Gill, who we did have the idea that this program, of course, is the commemoration of the 90th birthday anniversary. It should be a big event. At the same time, July 6th is going to be where the audience is going to be split among the festivities or the celebration events. So therefore, we made a point that 6th July is going to be one, and then 11th July is going to be another. So where somehow the Gauri Gilji suggested if there's a possibility for the book release of Manual, and of course, he's very extremely standard photographer, plus His Holiness's photographer for the last 35 years, and of course, why not? And we also came to know about the movie. And then, because that, as I said earlier with Mr. Manuel, my relationship till then was more on a professional level, more as me as the translator, and he as the photographer. We are just like official friends, not really as, the close friends. So, and then it's been like the last 15 years that we're totally out of touch. And then finally knowing that Gauri Gilji has a very close connection with Mr. Manuel, so I asked Gauriji if there's a possibility for him to request for this movie screening here. And then Gauriji so kindly took the initiative, and finally we had this amazing, I was not really expecting this quality of the screening is amazing, highly, the incredible great quality is amazing. And also that, as I said earlier, Mr. Manuel, one time I remember that this was a very official visit of His Holiness. We were together, and we had some exchanges. So there, I did sense that he has a sense of humor. But today, it's just amazing to see the person in the real person I saw today. Very compassionate and extremely humorous and very friendly. Thank you so much. Thank you. You made the whole audience, the auditorium here so happy. Thank you so much. So with this, it's a great, no doubt that we are not here for any kind of entertainment, but to commemorate this great son of the world, the leader of the world, the one who can really lead the world to the light of the joy, happiness, prosperity, and harmony. So with this in mind, no doubt we have accumulated so much merit, and the merit that we accumulated that is dedicated for His Holiness the Dalai Lama's the long life, very healthy long life, and that his vision of the universal ethics today taking the form of sea learning and also Ayurgyanyas. So may these two thrive in the minds of all sentient in the minds of all the beings, and eventually this be adopted by the UNO, that it be implemented in every nation, every school, colleges, universities in the nations, so that the people, the students, children graduating from these programs, they will see that when they become the leaders, the world is going to be a very beautiful world. So let's pray for that. So with this in mind, I know that many of you know this mantra, Ye Dharma mantra, which is kind of very auspicious. We'll say this together 3 times. And then first I'll recite some verses in Tibetan, and the others can join me. And after this, then recite the Ye Dharma mantra, the Buddha. Buddha taught this, and then the great teachers like His Eminence, the 102nd Gandhi Rinpoche, he used to always recite this mantra on every auspicious occasions. Kare rave korve shingam dire penda dewa malu chumbe ne chere senwa tenzin gyazo shabe sede padu tengyuru che jambe bawe chedare kemba tang kundu sambo tian deshen deda gunge jezun da lobjin gyawa deda tamje ravdo ngo desum shebe gyawa tamje Kana chodo nga ba te dage gewe sawa degunja sambo chuchi rabdungo barayaki chanju simjo rembo che mage banam ge yurji geba nyamba mebaya kwane kondo pevare shu Toni dawa rembo che mage banam ge yurji geba nyamba mebaya kwane kondo pevare shu masam jime shera paru chin mage mega namke nguon 소소 란리 시주 바 드숨 게외 요마 차세로 대타 옴 가데 가데 바라가데 바라삼 가데 보디스와 떼다 옴 가데 가데 바라가데 바라삼 가데 보디스와 떼다 옴 가데 가데 바라가데 Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Okay, thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you.